everybody. So today we're going to be talking about our week 5 project. Now hopefully you have a lot of these materials. I try to pick everyday things so we can get this project done by Thursday. So this is my final product. We're going to be talking and breaking down each step for the day. So my project, initially I just started drawing my hands. I chose 3 different techniques: scumbling, a continuous line drawing, and then hatching. Now it's really important here that you start off with a pencil, something that you can erase if you really make a mistake, but I doubt you guys will. So I started in the background. I started with a scumbling technique and I just laid my hand down flat. With this project you can choose to have your hand in any position that you want to. You can make it really versatile. And if you want a challenge, you can actually draw with your offhand. So if I'm right-handed, I might actually draw with my left hand and model my drawing with my right hand. Up to you guys. So anyways, I started in the background. I did a scumbling technique. And then once I was done with that hand, I changed positions and changed my mark-making technique. I decided to move on to the one continuous line drawing. So I kept one line while I continuously moved my pencil around to draw my entire hand, both inside and out. That's what makes it a contour drawing. And then for my final one, I changed positions again for my hand. This is the hand that's going to be closest to the viewer, that's in the foreground, and I decided to do a hatching technique. So I used one straight line in different positions in order to make the illusion of shape. That's how I showed that final hand. After that, I decided to mix my own watercolors. It was kind of my homemade technique for this. So for the first one, I used pure vanilla extract. You can choose anything you want to. This is just what I had to make do with. I had cayenne pepper and a little chili powder. So each of these has a different range of values. You can see the chili powder has a little bit more of a brown tone, the cayenne pepper has more of an orange tone, and then that pure vanilla had a very dark, almost chocolatey tone to it. So I used all of these. The pure vanilla extract I just used in its purest form, whereas with the cayenne pepper and the chili powder, I added a little bit of water. So you can see it's just watered down just a little bit for my value. It's going to be very chunky when you first start to paint with it, but after I got all my values down, I want to make sure that you guys know that I did a movement style pattern. In other words, I didn't want just blobs of color everywhere. I wanted to show the illusion of movement behind my hands, because my hands are so static in the way that they're positioned. We're not really reading them in different ways. Whereas I wanted my background to actually move my viewer's eyes across the composition. So I have them twirling and swirling around, and also used a conscious decision to have negative space where my paper is just white. So I'm giving my eyes room to breathe a little bit, and I also have my most important subject matter right here, my hands. I left those as white. So once I got my values done with my homemade watercolors and all my different powder concoctions that I made, I went in with my ink. Now you can do anything you want to for your ink. We just want a tone of black in some way. So I had a Sharpie marker of sorts, and you can also use, a regular Sharpie, or you can also use a pen. Anything that will make a dark tone for your final drawing. So we're going to go over everything that's in pencil. That was done for our hands. So you can see I went over my pencil here and then erased out the pencil marks once I was done. And then as for my background, every single color, so my chili powder color, my cayenne pepper, and my pure vanilla extract, each of those colors had a particular pattern that I wanted on each one. So only the cayenne pepper had this kind of arrow pattern through the middle, whereas my chili powder had just these lines, and then finally my pure vanilla extract had these almost olive-like shapes that were moving around here. So dedicate one pattern to each of your values in the background. You can do that with pencil first, like I did, to kind of see what my designs look like and perfect them, and then go over it again with that black ink that you may be able to find. So that's how we're going to make this final drawing for the week. Remember, these are due by Thursday. Our focus this week is on movement. So make sure to move your hands around in different positions. You'll be able to see in the Nearpod a couple examples of that. And I'm so excited to see what you guys make for the week. I'm really happy with the amount of participation that we've had today, and if you have classmates that haven't yet done these projects, reach out to them, because I am too, and I want to see everyone making these projects, because I think they're super cool, and you'll be able to make a larger, more worthwhile use of your time and a better portfolio too in the long run. So, I'm going to go drink some coffee while you guys listen to this Nearpod.
All right, it is week number 5, and this week's lesson is going to be all about gestural hands in background showing movement. So let's get started. So for your first hand you're going to draw, I want you to try that scumbling technique. If you remember from our time in class, that's like our fancy scribbling that we use in art in order to portray an object. Now, this first hand position on your paper should be the farthest back. That's very, very important because we're going to layer 3 different hand positions with 3 different mark making techniques on top of each other to make our composition. Your second hand, which will be on top of that farthest back hand, is going to be using a continuous line, which means, just like the example here, you're going to put your pencil down and you're not going to pick it up again until you are done with your hand drawing. So you should get all the details in there, as many as you can, because remember, the more details we can add, the more finished and well articulated your drawing is going to look. That hand is going to be in the middle. Our third and final hand that we're going to draw is going to be more of a rough drawing. It's going to be made out of hatched lines. So these lines are going to be very static. They're going to be straight, and then you're going to move them around in order to show your hand in a different position. So you have to think about how you would draw each individual finger by just using straight lines and just use the edge that it makes in order to make those well articulated for your hand as well. So this hand, this final third hand, should be in the front. It should be the largest one, and it should be, in a way, the most important one that you see first. So here's a couple of different hand position examples I wanted to show you guys. This is the alphabet in American Sign Language, but you can use any hand position you want. For my piece, I chose more of a relaxed hand position that I could draw from. Because I'm right-handed, I drew my left hand. Do not try to draw the same hand that you draw with, because we want that hand to stay still while we're drawing it, just like a still life. So here's an example here of my 3 different hands. You can see the scumbling in the back, the continuous line drawing in the middle, and then that hatched technique in the front. Now, for your background, you're going to use 3 different spices or food ingredients as a homemade watercolor. For my example, I use smoked paprika, chili powder, and vanilla extract. Now, after you have your ingredients round up, you're going to have 3 separate bowls or cups of any kind. You're just going to add a small amount of water to each in order to create our homemade watercolors. So this is my example. You can see it's still wet, but I created a lot of movement in the background. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but you should have at least 3 different colors. That light brown tone without any specks is the vanilla extract. The smoked paprika is that one towards the top right that has more of the chunks in it, and then that orangish red, more so the orange tone, is that chili powder with the water. The more water you add, the less value you're going to have. It's going to be lighter. So if you want it to be really dark, I would only add just a little bit of water. Now for your background, I want you to create movement with leading lines and effective use of negative or empty space. We want to move our viewer's eye around the entire page. I ask that you do not overlap your hands with the color. Your hands should be just that color of the paper, the white of the paper, once we are done, because that's what's going to keep a really high contrast from our background to our foreground. And then at the end, we're going to use 1 pattern per color, and I'll show you what I mean here. So this is my example so far. I have all of my leading lines in the background, some negative space with the white of my paper, and my hands are still the white of the paper too. Now for the smoked paprika, I used this arrow pattern. For the vanilla extract, I drew what looks like olives or eyeballs, whatever you want to think, is just something that came to me. And for that chili powder, I just did lines. So you want to keep 1 pattern per color in order to keep it consistent, because we're going to have a lot going on in our backgrounds. Now, once you get done, this is my final piece. You're going to take a black pen, a Sharpie, anything of the sort that has that black toned color to it, and you're going to add that over your pencil lines. Remember, our final touches are going to be in black, and we want to erase any pencil that's left over. So you're going to add your ink over the pencil, erase the pencil as a final step. And remember, these are your hands and your artwork. It may resemble mine, but it should be special to you.